And the question number 31 is, what is considered an hard to fill IT position? So you can see on the whiteboard some of the areas or categories of IT positions. So it starts with software developers or software engineers, data and business intelligence, testing and quality assurance, support, analysts, architects, managers, cloud and DevOps, designers, emerging roles or legacy roles. And there are so many other roles, we could expand it further. So for example, analysts, data analysts, system analysts, business analysts, or managers. It could be CTO, CIO, CISO, like so many different roles. I don't go into too much details because you can find the whole list of all these roles on our mind map with all IT roles structured nicely inside the IT Recruiter Mind Maps booklet. So I leave details for the booklet, but now I'll focus on those hard to fill IT positions, at least on a high level. If I just look at these categories, which ones are hard to fill? And I would actually say upfront that it depends. It depends on a few factors. For example, do you already have a database of these IT professionals? If you don't have, then anything is hard to fill. Second, it depends on your skills and your experience. If you are just transitioning to IT recruitment and you know nothing about IT, then any of these is hard to fill because IT professionals can spot quickly that you don't know anything about IT and they become arrogant really quickly and easily. So, it depends on a few factors, but let's assume you already have some database or some applicant tracking system, or maybe you already have a LinkedIn profile with 20,000 connections, and then it will be easier, definitely. So just looking at this, for example, say support is relatively easy. So what I could do, if I find the green marker, then I'll just label it with green. Support is relatively easy. It's not too difficult. Analysts, say on a high level, relatively easy. Architects also. Managers, it's not too easy because there are not too many of them, but also with managers you don't really need to go into technical depth, and it's probably easier to screen them, especially based on my experience. Usually you talk about high level stuff and you are looking for someone who has been there, done that, and it's easier to interview these people than technical candidates. So next, probably testing and QA. That's also very straightforward. It depends if we are looking for manual testers or automation testers, but both are relatively straightforward. Data and BI, it's maybe somewhere halfway between easy and really hard to fill. The whole data science, for example, is growing significantly, and data scientists are part of this group. So, for example, data engineers are easier to fill, but data scientists are much harder. So data scientists are those who use math and statistics, and they use programming languages such as Python or R. R language is just R language to compute and to predict future situation based on past data. So those are, say, moderately difficult. So I'll use both here, like somewhere in between. And obviously, designers are probably relatively easy. It's quite straightforward. So what is difficult and hard to fill is, for example, emerging roles. Emerging roles are difficult because there are just not too many developers who really know blockchain, they don't know the Solidity language, they don't know the blockchain ecosystem yet. So there are not too many people, that's why it is difficult. It's not difficult because, we just use the same tool, LinkedIn, for example, we use the same CRM with just slightly different keyword, but there are fewer people on the market. So that's why it is much more difficult to find them. And another area is probably these legacy technologies. With legacy technologies, I'm referring to programming languages such as COBOL or Fortran. These languages are or have been used already 20, 30 years ago. So people who used them back then already retired, many of them. So that's why there are very few people on the market who actually can effectively use these languages. So yeah, like these are probably hard to fill also, not probably, but very likely. And also, you know, when it comes to software engineers, it depends, you know, it depends on a few factors. I would also say label it with both, because there are, for example, lots of juniors on the market, lots of people who are transitioning to IT, they are looking for opportunities, you know, so there are people who are finishing some boot camps and they learn how to use React or Angular to build front end, or they use how to use JavaScript on the back end to create some APIs. So people are on the market, especially junior ones. That's not too difficult. But then it's quite difficult to find more senior people because they already have a good job, they already have a great opportunity, they have lots of opportunities every week, so they have no intention to just leave the job unless they have to for some reason. Maybe their project ends, or maybe they are in hospitality or in travel, where, you know, how it is during COVID time. So maybe that's one of the reasons how we can get these candidates. But otherwise it's quite challenging, and many of these are hard to fill, especially if besides these generous skills such as front-end development or back-end development, if the client is looking for someone with very specific skill. For example, one of our clients was looking for a video expert, you know, so someone who knows C++, back-end development, front-end, plus is an expert in video encoding. So very few people on the market. So that's why, you know, that was a hard to fill position. And, you know, what I'm trying to say is that any of these could be hard to fill if there is some additional requirement placed on top of the generic role. So the generic role could be, for example, a business analyst. There are lots of business analysts on the market, but if the client requires the business analyst to have experience with a very specific say fintech product, then suddenly it is much more difficult to find these people. And it is much more difficult if you don't have any database at hand, if you don't have your own spreadsheet of people or your own ATS or list of CVs, then it is extremely difficult to find the right people. Okay, so yeah, this is just a very high level overview of these IT roles, but you can always refer to the booklet with all these mind maps, and this is just one out of 30 mind maps which will help you structure your thoughts and understand the IT landscape when it comes to IT roles and the languages and the frameworks these IT professionals use. So this is just the starting point for you if you are a tech recruiter, if you are transitioning to IT recruitment. These mind maps will help you structure your thoughts, understand the relationship between software development and front-end, back-end, full-stack development, so you know how to find these people, how to target them. Because based on the languages and based on the frameworks, you can find these people on LinkedIn, on GitHub, in your own database, in your own applicant tracking system, in your spreadsheet. Okay, so it's not any rocket science at the end of the day. It's just about having this overall overview and then go for some of these roles that are rather easy to fill. You know, there are so many opportunities on the market, so you don't have to go for the most difficult one, right? Like, don't start with DevOps. This is actually quite difficult. I forgot to label it DevOps because DevOps itself is quite confusing. It's not just straightforward methodology. You know, it's not a methodology, it's a set of best practices and tools and methods, but it's not really clear what DevOps really is. So that's why it's quite difficult to find DevOps engineers, even though we also know how to do it, and there is another video that focuses on how to find the right DevOps engineers, but that's beyond the scope of this video. I just wanted to say it's quite difficult to find them and get them to leave their existing job. So with that, I'll wrap it up. Hopefully this has been useful. If yes, then remember you can always join the Tech Recruitment Academy, and you will learn more about the whole IT landscape and the IT roles and programming languages and frameworks and everything anything that will help you to talk to hiring managers, understand their requirements, as well as talk to the candidates, to be able to interact with them with confidence, to know what to ask them, how to screen them, so you can effectively match them with the job openings that you have at hand. So just join the Tech Recruitment Academy. Go to techrecruitmentacademy.com and join the group, join the support community. This is a digital support platform for fellow tech recruiters. We organize lots of events, lots of webinars, sourcing webinars where we teach you how to source candidates. We organize a step-by-step program that teaches you the essential IT terminology so you can have meaningful discussions with IT candidates. And we also organize some other events to help you become really good in what you are supposed to do, to match candidates so you deliver more value to the CTO or the hiring manager. And we will also help you to earn some more money on the side as a bonus. So just join us, techrecruitmentacademy.com. Again, it is techrecruitmentacademy.com.